So here's our next excerpt from A Time of Honor. See if you can figure out what's been happening. A half hour later, we found ourselves in front of the drawbridge. A watchman must have alerted John to our presence. He waited for us in front of the portcullis, flanked by several dozen knights, their visors covering their faces, swords unsheathed. John stood, ours akimbo, head flung back, and a mocking smile on his face. "So, the babe returns, does he?" John jeered. I could hear laughter and muttered comments from the knights behind him. William urged his knight forward, several knights behind him. "I come to challenge you, John of Grafford," he called out, his voice just a little shaky. "I come to fight you for the murder of my father, Baron Henry of Grafford." "Ha!" Uncle John sneered. "I do not fight babes in arms, lad." The knights behind him laughed. I could see William's face redden. "I am no babe," he countered. "I am knighted by the Earl of Brewery, and I challenge you for honor's sake." John's face changed immediately. Warily, his hand went to his sword hilt. "You are but a boy," he blustered. "I'll not fight a boy." Behind him, the knights murmured and grumbled, and one called out, "You must fight, sire." Another called out, "Fight!" William dismounted, unsheathed his sword, and began walking toward John, his steps firm and measured, sword at his side. I was so proud of him. Oh my gosh. I wanted to squeeze my eyes shut, but I couldn't do it. I had to see what happened. I felt a stab of panic. William, alone, facing John. Shivers shook me to the core. What if this turned into a full-scale battle? What would happen to William? What would Maud and I do? I glanced quickly over my shoulder at the knights who surrounded us. Surely, they would be able to protect us, wouldn't they? William kept advancing on John, and I saw John back up a little. Was his sword hand shaking? Maud reached out trembling hand and grasped mine. She gave me a worried glance. "God's blood," she begged softly. "Let him conquer." "Stand and fight," William called out. "I am Lord of Grafford, and I challenge you to confess your evil deed." "Nay, nephew," John whined. "I cannot fight my own kin, my own blood." "Why not?" William scoffed. "You thought not of having your own brother murdered in cold blood, did you not?" "All lies and rumors," John protested, his eyes shifting from right to left, as if looking for confirmation from anyone. "Upon my honor." "Yeah, right," I wanted to say, "when pigs have wings," but I bit my tongue instead. Just then, a hubbub started in the crowd of knights behind John. Someone was shouldering his way through the crowd. It was Adam de Coupoli, dressed in his huntsman's greaves, carrying a menacing bow. He stood in front of John and spat on the dirt. "Fight him, you coward. Your honor is worthless, as your word is worthless to all to whom you gave it." "I know 12, he snarled. "And if you flee, my men will hunt you down and return you to the Earl." "And mine as well," Robert shouted. A chorus of eyes from the assembled knights filled the air. "Fight me," William called out, his voice quavering just a little, but he stood his ground. John's shoulders slumped as if someone had let all the air out of him. He looked at the ground. "Nay, I cannot," he said. Robert rode up to him, his horse's sides heaving. William glanced up at Robert. "I distrain you on the command of Earl of Brewerly," Robert announced. Two of his knights grabbed John by his wrist and bound his hands behind him. I halfway expected to see a melee break out, with John's knight defeated, but no one moved. Nice guy, I thought. He obviously made a lot of friends. Not. Rain began falling in earnest, and Maud threw her hood over her head again. I did likewise. "To the castle!" William shouted, and remounted his horse that a knight brought to him. We cantered across the drawbridge and under the portcullis. The horses seemed as eager to get out of the rain as we were. Maud and I slid off our mounts and, lifting our skirts, ran for the main keep. A sliver of white lightning cracked the sky. Kaboom! Thunder rolled and we hurried up the steps, big raindrops falling in earnest. Inside, the torches were burning, and a crowd of knights, ladies, and servants were waiting for us. Cheers broke out when William walked into the antechamber, wiping the raindrops from his face. Maud and I smiled at each other. William saw through the crowd and grinned, raised a gloved hand in acknowledgement. "William, my brave, honorable William." Kaboom, boom, boom, boom. The torches flickered. Suddenly, everything went dark. My heart almost stopped. The room grew bright again. Electric lights. Q signs. I was back. I was really back. Relief flooded through me, but then a sudden pang of regret threatened to overwhelm me. I knew with certainty I'd never see Maud or William again. Did I just dream it all? Gosh, Connor, where did you go? Penelope's voice asked from behind me. I turned around to see all of my fourth formers standing in a group. Fairborn at the side, arms folded, and a grim look on her face. The other teachers looked a bit put out too. I could have hugged every one of them, even Fairborn. Nowhere really, I said. How long did I think I'd been gone? Had I really been gone? We thought we'd lost you, Penelope said. I sort of did, I answered. Did my adventure really happen? Or was it just a hallucination from some weird electron charge that affected my brain? My hands shook a little and I clasped them together. Then a gleam on my right hand caught my eye. Imprimis honor factus, the ring read. Maud knew everything. It all been true, truly. Well, don't worry. I'm back, I said. I won't get lost again. On my honor. And I smiled at everyone.